Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be looking at a disallowed try in the Glasgow Warriors South Sea Sharks game. So we're just going to take a quick look at it right now. And so basically what happened was Glasgow's set piece, and if you can see the number 13 there, ran into one of the South Sea Sharks player, and he then ends up being the try scorer. So what happened was the try got disallowed for an obstruction, and we're going to take a look at whether this is actually an obstruction or not. So we get a bit of a better angle here, and you see that the player runs a dummy line and then hits the player and knocks him over. So a couple of the things about this is, one, like I said, is it an obstruction? So we're going to take a look at the laws and see if it's an obstruction, but the first thing we're going to take a look at here is whether the 13 was in front of the ball. I mean, I know the collision happened in front of the ball, but was he in a position to catch the ball at this point? I think he was. I think this pass could have popped over to the number 13, and I think he would have been able to catch the ball and run through that line. But he continues his run and then hits the Sharks player who falls over. So we're going to take a quick look at the laws for an obstruction. So these laws for an obstruction. So when a player and an opponent are running for the ball, neither player may charge or push the other player except shoulder to shoulder. Now, I don't think that's relevant here. It might be somewhat, but we'll come back to that if it is. An offside player must not intentionally obstruct an opponent or interfere with play. Now this might be something to come back to here. A player must not intentionally prevent an opponent from tackling or attempting to tackle a ball carrier. I don't think that's particularly important at this point. A player must not intentionally prevent an opponent from having the opportunity to play the ball other than by competing for possession. That's not important here. A ball carrier must not intentionally run into an offside teammate. That's not important. And the last one is for if the ball's dead. So these are kind of the important ones. Now this one, I'm not sure this counts because they're not directly both going for the ball, so I don't think that one counts. But an offside player must intentionally obstruct an opponent or interfere with play. Now, he is offside, and he does obstruct an opponent, which does interfere with play. I think the crucial point here is the word intentionally. Does he intentionally obstruct the player? And the other one is, a player must intentionally prevent an opponent from tackling or attempting to tackle the ball carrier. Now, his obstruction, by knocking the player down, if that didn't happen, he might have been tracking the 13 who ended up scoring the try himself. So if we take another look back here, this is a pretty decent angle of it. And so what we need to determine is whether this is an intentional obstruction or not. And personally, I don't think it is. I don't think he changes his line at any point. He's continuing to run. Both of them are continuing to run. And they both hit each other. To me, from my personal opinion, that is a collision. That is not an obstruction. It is two players running. He's in a position, he's onside at this point, and he could have received that ball. So he's not running beyond the ball carrier in a place where he couldn't catch the ball. That's something that's often brought up for an obstruction in these type of situations. And I think these players have both hit each other, and I'm not really sure you can punish someone because they didn't go to ground and the other guy did. So yeah, that's my opinion, and I don't think it's an obstruction. There's another point on whether it interfered with play. So it probably did interfere with play because this was a person who could have potentially made a tackle at some point. However, I don't necessarily think that that's relevant. If this happened and the 13 fell to ground, who ended up scoring the try was a potential try scorer, I don't think this would have ever been brought back and a penalty given against the Sharks player. So I think, personally, from my perspective, I think this is not an obstruction. It's a collision between two players on the field of play, and I think that this try that we're watching here should have stood, and I think that in the game it ended up being a bit of a turning point. Glasgow still won the game, but the Sharks definitely dominated the end of the game. If this try stood, that might not have happened. And I think that it was a good try that got knocked off. It was a very nice, well-worked set-piece try. And that's why I think. Tell me what you guys think down below in the comments. Do leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you are new around here. But as always, guys, have a great day. See ya.